Hey everyone, Hockey Squirrel here with NHL picks for March 15th, Monday. We've had a couple of down days, but it's nothing that we haven't seen before, and we're just going to keep plugging away and we'll bounce back. So, I have two free picks tonight for one at 6 o'clock and one at 9 o'clock Central Time. Since I'm doing this the night before, I want to make you guys aware of keeping an eye on who the goalies are on these confirmations, and also keeping an eye on the injuries to make sure that there's nobody on the COVID list tomorrow, nobody gets added back into the lineup that we weren't expecting. Just keep your eye on that since I am recording this the night before. But I want to try to capitalize on a little bit of early value for some lines that we may see increase overnight and throughout the morning tomorrow that you might be able to get a little bit better value on if you bet them tonight or early in the morning on the 15th, if you're not seeing this tonight. But let's go ahead and jump into this on the Philadelphia Flyers. I will take the money line at minus 115. Currently it is at. We're getting less penalty minutes and I think a deeper team. And I will go into the lineups here in just a second. I do believe that Artemi Panarin's coming back into the lineup for the Rangers, which will help them. But I think that they struggled even with him in the lineup in the first part of the season. So taking about 7 minutes per game on average for the Flyers to 9:48, kind of pushing 10 minutes, which is around that half a period mark that I typically like to bet against. We just have a better power play here approaching 20% on the Flyers. Not a wonderful penalty kill by any means, so a little bit concerning, but since we're taking less penalty minutes, I think it kind of offsets it just a bit. And a high penalty kill percentage on the Rangers, but they are taking more penalties. They've just had more opportunity to kill penalties. So it doesn't really surprise me that that percentage is higher. Let's see here. One less game, and we've scored 11 more goals, which is nice. I like to see that. And goals against, but I think they've played some tougher teams. I mean, they're all in the same division, but I think their schedule recently has been a little bit tougher. They've taken their losses to the Capitals in their last 3 games. So I think that you're kind of getting a frustrated team here that's ready to win a game. But let's hop into the lineups for the Flyers. And other than this Andreoff down here, I love every player on this forward or offensive roster for the Flyers. We have just a ton of familiar names, big players, physically like to lay the body, like Kevin Hayes. Great down the middle, absolutely great centers. Can score from any line. I really like the defensive pairings as well. Really nothing that stands out here to me as a red flag, and I like the power play units, and I think it only makes sense that Carter Hart would play tomorrow. I think Elliott's took over a game or two here, so started out the season a little bit rough with Carter Hart, but in my opinion I think he's gotten better as time's gone on. Moving over to the Rangers line, usually when we're seeing scoring, especially recently with Panarin out, it's pretty much just this first line with Kreider, Zibanejad, the speed from those two. It's a very fast team. It's also a very young team, like we see with the Devils. Kind of somewhat inexperienced, right, with Lafreniere. Maybe not living up to the hype. There's a lot of pressure on players like this. Not that these are bad players, but they're just not as experienced and they're not physically as big as the Flyers are. And, typically I'll take a more veteran experienced team like the Capitals. Usually players that are maybe even on the Penguins, like Crosby, Malkin, etc., against players like this that just, not that they're bad players, but just don't have the experience. And moving down into the defensive pairings, other than Fox and Trouba, I think that there's a lot to be desired here as far as defensive depth. In terms of goalies, Shesterkin looks like he will be out, and Kincaid, I think we just saw him play against the Bruins, so Georgiev would be the next logical choice. So we should see a matchup here between Georgiev and Carter Hart. But just overall, I like the spot that the Flyers are in. I like the veteran players and the fact that they're just bigger physically. So I will take the Flyers at -115 on the money line tomorrow. And moving into a later game, 9 o'clock Central, will be the St. Louis Blues. And I was almost a little bit surprised to see them at -140. I thought it might have been closer to even just at a first glance, but I think that there's good reason for them to be here at -140. And there's also reason I think that this line will continue to run up a little bit further overnight. Just at an overall look, we do take a little bit more penalty minutes, but we've had so many injuries on this team. They've been plagued the entire season, and we're starting to see the introduction of some of these players back in the lineup. Big piece that just got added, if you're not aware, is Vladimir Tarasenko. And that helps fill out that team a lot. And we'll look at those lines as well in just a minute. One thing I'd like to point out about this power play percentage is that it's been steadily increasing over the course of the season. They were, I think, dead last at one point, or very close to it at a really poor 5 or 6%, and this has just been steadily climbing right on up to 20 as the season's gone on. So kind of a sneaky play here on that power play percentage. Again, the injuries probably contribute to the penalty kill percentage not being where it should be, but we've still scored a lot of goals. We've been scored on a lot as well, but I think this speaks to the firepower and overall depth of this team without even having many of the starters that belong in the lineup. Looks like at an early glance that Binnington and Cal Peterson will be going against each other. And one thing to seriously watch is this Dustin Brown may be out. I'm not sure if this is confirmed. I just saw this on Sports Insights. So if that is an absolute confirmation, that removes a key piece from the Kings' top line, and that's good for us. So let's jump into some of these lineups here. I love the first three offensive lineups, and the wingers on the fourth line have been on the team for a while, just not that they've produced a ton, but I don't mind them by any means. But Tarasenko being back, I think, plays a huge role, mostly mentally, for this team, and just boosts the overall ego. And moving down into the defensive pairings, we know every one of these players, except for this Mikola, not too familiar. But everybody else on this team, Torrey Krug, Vince Dunn, Scandella, Bortuzzo, we're familiar with them. We know that we can expect consistent results from them. Where I think that there's some holes and missing pieces in the Kings lineup, especially defensively, that we'll take a look at. Great looking power play, really on both units, which probably speaks to the increase that we've seen in their percentage. One thing to watch out for tomorrow is this Ville Husso. Still really don't trust him very much over Binnington. I would be much happier having a Binnington start against Cal Peterson, but if that's how it ends up with Husso in net, then I would much rather see this Troy Grosnick, who would be their third string goalie. So that's how that should play out, and if that is how it plays out, then I don't mind Blues still, but just something to keep an eye on. So let's hop into these lines here for the Kings. First line's pretty good, second line's pretty good, and other than Lizotte, not crazy about the bottom half of this team. Defensive pairings, don't really care for other than Doughty, Roy, Bjornfoot. Kind of, I don't know. I don't know what to think yet, if I really like him or not. But I think he's been stepping up. But there's still just holes in this defensive pairing that I don't really think they match the skill and talent of the Blues defense. So anywhere we can grab an edge, we'll take it. And at minus 140, I like this, especially because the Kings just played tonight, or if you're watching it tomorrow, last night. But they played in Colorado. So even though they're playing at home, they still have to travel with the Blues. They're playing on a back-to-back and having to travel, come back home, and have some important key injuries, especially if Dustin Brown is out. And they don't have their starting goalie. So unless any of those things get confirmed tomorrow and are updated, I really like this bet. So we'll take the Blues money line and the Flyers money line, and that should be about it for free picks. So not totally sure exactly how many plays I'm going to have tomorrow in my full card, but for those of you that are paid members, these picks will be in there along with whatever else I find for value for the day. If you are interested in purchasing my full card, it's available at benderwins.com. And what you're getting with the full card is these statistical breakdowns and stat sheets every single day for every game for the remainder of the regular season, the playoffs, and all the way into the Stanley Cup. I email out every single day written articles with all these stats broken down and all my opinions on the games. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can head over to benderwins.com. If you're not interested in that, I do these free pick videos about 3 days a week, and you can look forward to that. So with all that said, have a great day, guys, and good luck.